Hi everyone, I'm Nate and welcome to Elevate with Nate, a place for learning, growth and self-improvement. Join me as we explore a wide range of topics, sharing insights and new knowledge from my personal learning journey. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing something truly fascinating, tower cranes. So recently I was in Ibiza and I was walking along the beach and I saw in the distance there these massive tower cranes. And it dawned on me and I thought, how on earth are these massive cranes actually put up into, from the ground up into the sky? Surely, they're not pre-made and put up there. That would be far too big. So I thought, let's look into it. So in today's episode, you'll find out exactly how tower cranes are put up. So first things first, what's required is a strong foundation. These cranes are very, very heavy, with many weighing up to almost 400 tons. So it needs to be anchored into place strongly. And how it's done is you'll pour a very large concrete base, okay, which in itself can weigh up to several tons too. And this foundation has to be perfectly level to support the crane's weight and its loads that we're carrying. It couldn't be at an angle, that'd be very dangerous. So it must be level, and on top of that then, the dimensions can kind of range up to 30 feet by 30 feet, so that's roughly 9 meters by 9 meters. So once you've got this foundation now in place, now we'll look to make the base structure of the crane. And this involves either kind of tower or mast sections, which are bolted to the foundation layer. And each of these mast sections can be roughly 10 to 20 feet long, so that's roughly 3 to 6 meters. And again, weigh several tons. So at this point, these sections are added one by one and bolted in place to create this vertical mast. At this point, this can go up to roughly 200 feet high. That's roughly 61 meters. So that is done kind of in itself initially. So once the mast has reached a certain height, that's when they introduce the slewing unit and the jib, where the slewing unit is the part which can basically rotate 360 degrees, okay? And on top of that is where the actual person sits in the little container bit. And the jib is just the horizontal kind of long bit which you see when you're looking up into the sky at a crane. And as you can probably tell, the jib can be pretty long. So you can get up to 260 feet long, and that's about 79 meters. So then the next question would be, well, how do you get the jib on top of this tower crane? And that's where you use something called a mobile crane, okay? And that's essentially a much smaller crane on wheels, which will help lift the jib and place it on top of the tower crane. It's very strong, it can do this. So hopefully you can tell at this point that they have to use the mobile crane and add the jib on whilst the tower crane is still at a relatively small height, because if it was now massively high with all your mast sections, the mobile crane could not reach high enough to add the jib. So here is where it gets very interesting. How are we going to take this already constructed now, mast with the jib and slewing unit at roughly 200 feet max to well over 1,000 feet or more, 300 meters high in the air, which is what you see when you see a tower crane? And this now comes down to a very nice design. These tower cranes are designed to essentially self-build themselves, self-grow, okay, via the use of a special mechanism called the climbing frame, or also the climbing unit or climber. And this climbing frame is essentially a hydraulic jack system which is attached around the mast. So here's how it works. So the climbing frame is attached around a section of the mast just below the slewing unit, the top bit, okay? And it's attached to both the mast and the slewing unit. And at this point, with the use of the hydraulic jacks, it can basically prop up the slewing units up to roughly 20 feet or 6 meters higher than the bit below, okay? And you might recall that distances from before, because that was the max height of the mast sections. So at that, what happens now is with the jib, okay, it will go down, it'll pick up from the ground, they'll have there a mast section. So with the use of the jib, it will then bring up a new mast section. And because the slewing unit and the jib is now propped up kind of 20 feet higher, they can slot in the new piece. And all that happens is, once it's into place or locked down, now the climbing frame will be kind of moved up again, and you keep going from there. You keep adding more and more pieces. So pretty fascinating. That there, of course, is how they managed to have these cranes self-growing, self-building. And then very finally, as some of you may already be aware, because of course the potential massive weights being lifted by the jib, okay, the long bit, they have a counterweight on the other side of the jib to make sure it doesn't topple over with very heavy weights. So they add the amount of weight, the counterweight and distances to ensure that it does not topple over. So there you have it. That in a nutshell is how these tower cranes are assembled and manage to go so high in the sky. And also when it gets to deconstructing them, it's the exact same process we're using the climbing frame. So hopefully you enjoyed this and now know a bit more about tower cranes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and bell notification. Feel free to leave any comments and any suggestions for future content. And as ever, onwards and upwards.